Soraya and Siggi visited a Google event. It was all about the future of workspace and how AI would play a role. Here are our comments. Welcome to your favorite show, the Aiku show. And as mentioned, we went to a Gemini at Work event hosted by Google and its partners, I should say. So there was one event in the Google office in Munich, in Germany. It all took place, and then another one in Stuttgart, and then one in Wiesbaden at Seibert, which was the one that we went to.
The one that we went to yesterday.
The main aim was to introduce the AI-enabled capabilities and functionalities of Google Workspace. So make no mistake, this was a sales event. The MD was talking at first how great Google is, and then the head of Workspace was talking about allegedly the many benefits that Workspace has, and yeah, also over Microsoft, while actually I think they never mentioned Microsoft, but everyone basically knew like the elephant in the room.
Industry knowledge.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, who's the big incumbent? Of course, Microsoft Office, probably the most popular software in the world to some extent or in some context.
Yeah.
And Google is of course challenging that with their workspace offerings, which are sort of apple to apple if you want. Of course, not 100%, right?
Yeah.
But this is the market that we're talking about.
Yes.
And now the current spin is, of course, all on AI, particularly on Gemini, which is, you're familiar with that, the major AI model from the house of Google. And as they were trying to sell Gemini for Google Workspace, they put out some hypotheses for what they hold true on the future of the work environment and how AI plays a role in that. And we should, in that regard, actually say when we talk about work, is office work related. So anything that we use our laptops for when we work with documents.
From creative to documentation to circulating that communications to your colleagues, and I think that they are big on that.
Yeah. Spreadsheets,
Spreadsheets.
slides, you create images,
Meetings,
videos, meeting notes, all of that stuff.
Yeah.
So this is the context we're talking about. So they put out 4 hypotheses, and we were thrilled to listen to it. And then we thought, man, we cannot leave this uncommented. So here are our 10 cents. Number 1 was AI for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Shortly, what was it about, or how was it presented? They were saying that they hold it true that every employee needs to have access to AI. And then, of course, there is like the Google Workspace spin. You know, they try to sell a product. So how would they market it? They would say there is one price for everything. So they don't charge extra for the AI capabilities. They used to do that. But now they would just say you get our workspace package and AI is included. No surcharges. And this is sort of the Google spin. And they also said that if you don't provide everyone with AI, then people would fall back to shadow IT. Shadow IT is the IT that everyone is using without the acknowledgement of the IT or admins. And then people are just opening like their private ChatGPT, whatever, for work, and that should not be the case.
Yep.
What's your take on it?
Well, I really like the idea because that's what's happening. Because
Mm,
everybody is either working with AI because their company provide the AI tools for them, or they secretly have their own tools opened and they somehow integrate it. So ask anybody. Okay, so maybe it's also different market, and I think in my circle people are using AI a little bit or more, but I think it's a norm to use AI right now.
mm. Yeah, 100%. I also thought that, yeah, it's definitely true how they put it, and in terms of how they come up with to, well, feed it back into their pricing model and so on, makes sense. I always see it from the perspective of, okay, the incumbent is Microsoft, Google is trying to challenge them, and this is also quite powerful in terms of the mechanics for their marketing and pricing. So in that regard, it's interesting what will happen on the market,
Yeah.
in how Microsoft would react to that, and how in general AI just becomes a functionality that is no delighting feature anymore, but it's becoming the norm. And how fast did that happen? Isn't that crazy? So Google is pushing on that. They like also with what happens with like these big open source models, we see that AI is being broadly available,
Yep.
and this appears to be the expectation on the market already.
Yes, and I think that seeing other colleagues or other people using Microsoft, I don't think it's far off from that because Microsoft has introduced a lot of features with AI right now. But I think the nature of the market acquisition and adoption, because Microsoft came way before Google, so we know who the target markets are. So maybe they're already older, they are not really familiar how Google Workspace look and feel. So a lot of corporates use Microsoft, and they have already the AI tools going on. I have not seen all of the tools, AI tools being provided by Microsoft because we did not go to AI demos for Microsoft, but I have heard that it's already available. It's just a matter of the market. So I have spoken to people who are older and they have been using Microsoft. They are very comfortable with Microsoft, and they know that Microsoft has the AI tools available already, but they have not really explored and did some experimentation. So that's about the market. I think that's the market acquisition, the market adoption, and depends on how we're talking about right now. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting spin on that. Second hypothesis, productivity. All about productivity.
Yeah, it's also the key of AI, and why AI is here is because it's just faster and more efficient. Yeah.
So what do they say? They say that once you introduce an AI-enabled tools to your overall office suite, let's say, or workspace, you gain in productivity a lot. They have done some survey on their customers, and what they found that on average, employees or users that use AI enhanced tools, their workspace tools, save about 105 minutes per day.
Yep.
So that's 1.5 hours. And they also say that those who have used it once never want to miss it again. I think that is something that
We can't say no to this. I think if I could make a report, I'm working way more efficient with AI with only 105 minutes per day. I think that's like, I don't know how people work with AI, but I think I save so many more minutes working with AI.
You
So
say,
I would be buying into that quickly.
yeah, you say you don't know how other people use it, like particularly I also don't know. I also
Yeah.
sometimes have questions, but I clearly cannot imagine how people cannot work with it. Like, they're
Yeah.
just like
No.
omitting it. Like,
Yes.
you cannot do without it. It's like crazy. So, and
Yeah.
one aspect that they've also highlighted, so, I mean, this 105 minutes per day on average, I mean, it may be true to your work, or it may not be. It might be more, it might be less. Maybe it's just 1 hour, but if you save 1 hour per day in a usual week of 5 work days, that's 5 hours. It accumulates to 20 hours per month, and it accumulates again over the year and over the team, over the department, over the
Yeah.
company, and out of a sudden you have so much time that accumulates over the small parts.
Yep.
Maybe this is also a little bit overestimated. I don't know. Maybe we also reach a plateau very, very quickly. Maybe there are even some ways how to unlock a lot more productivity potential. But what I took from it was, well, if you scale it up a little bit, because 1 hour per day doesn't sound particularly much. Sometimes we're scrolling so much on our phones, like 1 hour is gone in no time. So what's an hour worth after all? But if you accumulate it, it's truly valuable.
Yeah, and I think that, let's say if we prepare for something big, for example, and that something big for in my industry, for example, just a conference or an event, a big event that only happens when it happens is like 8 hours event, but preparation for that event takes the whole year. And then if you have AI working on that, you don't have a year. You can have maybe 3 months working on that, and that's the matter of like documenting,
Yeah.
preparing, creativity. So I think that everybody works with AI differently, and then that's the question of creativity.
Yeah, and then maybe in your case, coming back to your example, maybe you're getting into a position to run 2 events instead of one a
Yeah,
year. And
yeah,
that is a difference, right?
yeah.
Right. All right. So no debate about
No
that one.
debate. But what's interesting is
Yeah.
probably to look into the Google product that they are providing, because I think that the main point yesterday was the whole workspace. Yeah, so I think that with in the past 2 years I worked differently, so it's not on one platform. You got everything there. You got the creativity platform, you got all the meeting minutes there. I think that it might be if you have one source of truth, yeah, that would actually be more efficient if
Damn,
everybody uses it.
you're talking about the next point already.
I
All right.
read your mind. I read
Okay.
your mind.
Okay. So what is it about? That's hypothesis number 3. They coined it as culture or transformation, and it is about how you can gain in quality, creativity, how you can be more people-minded,
Yep.
talent-minded, customer-minded when using this new platform. And they called about it also that they have a platform that can create transformation.
All right.
And in that regard, this is why I'm referring to your point as well. You are already touching that, because for some companies they highlighted the Schwarz Group, the IT provider behind Lidl,
Yep.
that for them changing to the Google Workspace was a means of transformation, and they get all of the tools from one provider, and then they also embark on a new and different way of working.
Yep. Yep.
And I think what's also to be highlighted is that Google Workspace was born in the cloud, and therefore working with it can feel differently. because it just has a different nature of working. It was not born on your desktop computer. You know what I mean? So in that regard, the way how everything is easy to be shared and is always version controlled and so on, they had it from day one, basically.
Yep. I think that it's first when you say it's working with a product that was born in Google in cloud. So working with a product that was born in the cloud feels differently than working with products or tools that are born on premises. I could agree to that, but at the beginning, I thought it was from the user's point of view. So I think the difference in between using Microsoft in the past and now with Microsoft right now and Google is that you become you understand that it just works differently how you can share and maintain from the user's perspective. Yeah, so I think from the architecture, from the IT on the backdrop of it, but I can confirm, to me it's easier to work with products that are on the cloud because it feels a lot more inclusivity and you have a control out of it. This is how I feel about it. And also you don't question that anymore. You don't question about working with the on-premises tools unless you have very heavy point on security. So this is maybe a different discussion.
It is the next discussion. She did it again.
I knew it.
So yeah, let's jump right
Because
into it.
you know what's so
it is. Let me firstly
Yeah.
introduce it. So the last hypothesis is they just gave the title sovereignty and security. Quick introduction. So they see that there is a need in the market. Welcome. We're in Germany, of course. People want to be like all security and all rules and everything should be secure. And they say that Google in general, the Google Cloud, as well as Google Workspace, is a great partner to achieve that.
Yep.
Now your point. Excuse me.
So my point is that when we talk about cloud, it's we have been in the industry long enough that when there was this cloud booming, this cloud theme booming, everybody was talking about security. Yet today we're still talking about security, So I think that it's a valid point to talk about security in that space, but it shouldn't stop us from adopting to cloud transformation. I mean, it's so funny right now. I'm talking about cloud transformation because 10 years ago I was working on this too. I was reading about this too. Cloud transformation and security. Come on,
Back to the future.
I really want to move on from this, but I think that I think that's the way to go. That's one. Second, my point is that there's nothing wrong about that, but we just need a little bit more of diversity, because everything on Google, then we don't have any other options. That's also, we sometimes we just forget about like there's no variety in that sense.
Yeah, what does sovereignty mean after all from the point of view of the user or the customer is that they also want to be as independent as possible from one provider. So there certainly, like out of all the hypotheses, there is the largest potential of a conflict in terms of the interest of the technology provider and the customer. I think that Google needs to strengthen that point because they just see the need in the market and they want to have it addressed.
Yeah,
and
which is good.
I think they at least say, we're listening. We got you. We are working on our cloud security a lot. They mentioned that as well. since they were, I mentioned it earlier, born in the cloud, they have always had a lot of attacks. They mentioned also in this talk that there are way less attacks that are successful on the Google Cloud than on other clouds.
Yep.
And therefore, if you want to have an IT risk insurance with Google, it's less expensive than with other providers. They highlight it as like some way how it can show. And yeah, that's all fair. And I don't doubt that they do a lot for security. And also, we might not forget that if you really want to be super sovereign, then you run your servers yourself in the basement.
Yes.
And is that really secure? It for sure is coming with a lot more work. So then it's the question whether you can afford doing that. And in that regard, it always is a trade-off, of course.
Yep.
And yeah, needless to say that if a company truly wants to be sovereign, then Google is one out of many options.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think that's again, so to reiterate, sovereignty is that you have options and you also feel secure about it, and then you use your, on free will. Okay, so I will choose Google out of what, and I will choose this data center out of what, So you need to have all of the options to understand. But I think in that case, my very, very first feeling is that I really want to move on from this topic of cloud security. And yeah.
All right. So laptop closed. This is it.
That's
this is
it.
what they have talked about. Is there
Impressions.
any final impressions before we dive into it? I want to have said it at least for one time. This is neither advice from us to
Yes.
you that you should buy or not buy from Google. You're
Yes.
happy to do whatever you want.
Yes.
It's also not an advice that instead of that, you should go to us or whatever. We just want to put our comments out, just our 10 cents,
Yes.
try to be as neutral as we can.
Yes.
And neither it is investment advice, neither do we hold stakes in the companies involved whatsoever. We're just blabbering here. Okay, now since we are closing our blabber, final takes.
My final take is that I was happy that I came to that event because I got to explore a lot of new things in the AI world. And we're in Wiesbaden here, so I think that we are all aware about the AI race globally. And to see something's going on in your city, it's really making me super duper excited. And everybody was really excited. People were asking a lot of diverse questions, so it means that they had interests, concerns, and they would like to address them. Yeah, so I think that this is the way to go. So all in all, I felt super happy that we were there and got to know the people and the AI technologies that they have there.
Yeah, think global, act local. I think this was a good example because it's always easier said than done. I think in this regard, also shout out to those who invited.
Yes.
Zybert, which
Zybert
is a
Group.
Google partner. You may or may not like them for that, but whatever your opinion, you cannot say that they are not trying to engage into the overall community and trying to push the overall topic, the larger topic, because it was not just about Gemini. There were also other tracks in the events where they talked about startups and founders, and they connected people. So they're trying to do something for the network as well. So I mean, you don't have to go to these events and come out as a Google customer. And maybe you go into these events, you are no customer, you go out, you won't become a customer. That's all fine. But the network that is strengthened by some people who are trying to push something, that is something that I absolutely value. So in that regard, I also can just recommend to anyone who's watching, seek out for the events that you have in your neighborhood and just go there and mingle and find out what people are talking about, what they're concerned of. If they ask questions, listen closely. What question do they have? Reflect, how would you answer that? Is that a question that I have? Get into a conversation. Just really get out in this digital time that we live in. We just stick way too much to our desks, and we just need to get out and talk to people, particularly when it's like so mind-boggling about AI. It's like way too much happening. We need to talk to each other. And this is why I appreciated that happening right next doors, basically. And yeah, this is my final take on it.
Absolutely. Absolutely amazing.
All right, then this concludes our talk for today. Make sure to catch the next episode of the Aiku show, your most favorite show, commenting on whatever is going on in this crazy times of AI and digitalization and whatnot. Cheers.
See you later. Aiku. What I can do.